What's up, everybody? It's your boy Q Hicks, and I'm back with another video on week 4 in the Big 3. Y'all already know what time it is. If this is your first time on the channel, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Now let's dive into it. In the first game of the week, we had Ghost Ballers versus Ball Hogs. This was another game where it was the Mike Taylor show, at least for the first half. He scored 17 points and really did whatever he wanted to on the court. I mean, it was bucket after bucket after bucket. In the second, Chris Johnson picked up where Mike Taylor left off, and he was dominant, blocking shots, turnaround jumpers, threes, and the Ghost Ballers would stretch the lead out to 15. But Leandro Barbosa would lead the Ball Hogs back in the game and cut the lead to 5 with a couple of 4-pointers, and he would finish with 20 points. But Ghost Ballers would go on a 12-2 run to end the game, sealed by a Mike Taylor 3, and he would finish with 22 points while Chris Johnson ended with 15 points and 12 boards. Next, we had Power versus Killer 3s. With no Cuttino Mobley for Power due to an injury, they knew they would have to get off to a fast start if they wanted to win. It was a physical game, and Royce White came in with the intensity for Power and pushed them to an 11-2 start early. They would continue to lead until late in the first when CJ Watson started to go off, scoring 10 points to get the Killer 3s going. And in the second half, Killer 3s would take over the game, led by Donte Greene, scoring 19 of the team's 27 second half points, finishing with 23 points and 11 rebounds, while Royce White would finish with 19 points and 10 rebounds for Power. Next, we had Triplets versus Enemies. To be honest, this game really doesn't need a recap. This game was a clear mismatch like JV versus Varsity or boys against men. The Enemies fought, but they couldn't compete with the Triplets. At one point, the score was 9-29. Elijah Stewart was the only player bringing life to the Enemies squad, ending with 16 points. But everybody for the Triplets was starring in their role. Joe Johnson finished with 23 points and 15 rebounds, while Gennaro Pargo added 17 and the game winner. The final score really doesn't tell the whole story. Some late 4-pointers from the Enemies made the game look way closer than what it actually was. In the fourth game of the day, we had TriState versus Three's Company. First thing to know about this game was that both teams were missing their best players and leading scorer, Jason Richardson for TriState and Jeremy Pargo for Three's Company due to COVID protocols. So Nate Robinson will provide the offense for TriState early, scoring 13 in the first half, while Three's Company couldn't get it going on offense. In the second half, it was more of the same until Mario Chalmers got it going to get Three's Company back in the game with some much needed threes, and he finished with 26 points, but the rest of the team felt sluggish without Pargo at points throughout the game. Justin Dentman came in and gave TriState a spark and would finish with 16 points. But Three's Company would pick up their energy and battle back to make it a 3-point game before Earl Clark would seal the deal with free throws and finish the game with 17 points. Next, we had Trilogy versus the Aliens. The start of the game was real back and forth. Jarrett Jack started off the game scoring the team's first 9 points and would end up with 16 first half points, while Andre Owens got his team going with the early 7 for the Aliens. But Trilogy really started to take control of the game at the end of the first half and the start of the second half, going on the 18-4 run led by Isaiah Briscoe and Jack, and they wouldn't look back, eventually winning by 18, and everybody for Trilogy would chip in the second half. Jack would finish with 21 while Briscoe ended with 12. The game was just real sloppy for the Aliens. It wasn't a lot of fluidity to their offense. It felt like every other possession they were turning the ball over. Andre Owens would be the leading scorer at 12, and they're honestly a better team than their record would suggest, but they're sitting cozy at 0-4. Next, we had BiV Whack versus Three-Headed Monsters, which was the game of the week. BiV Whack came into the game missing 2 of their best players in Josh Smith due to last week's injury and Will Bynum going through COVID protocols, so the buckets will be hard to come by for BiV Whack's replacement players. For the Three-Headed Monsters, Reggie Evans scored the team's first 8 points early and 12 points in the first half. But Quincy Miller would step up and he would score 11 points for BiV Whack to get them back in the game. Kevin Murphy would get some early buckets in the second half, but Quincy Miller would continue to be the only source of energy for BiV Whack, scoring 19 points of their first 27, before injuring his ankle in the second half and being sidelined for the rest of the game. And the game looked to be controlled by the Three-Headed Monsters. But Alonzo G kept fighting and carried BiV Whack back into the game, and they shrunk the once 16-point lead down to 1 point late in the game. G would finish with 17 points, and it was a 48-49 game, 1 bucket for the win. Missed shots on both sides would raise the intensity, but a Rashard Lewis layup would seal the deal. Reggie Evans would finish with 20 points and 17 rebounds, while Rashard Lewis chipped in with 13. Moving on, we have moment of the week, and we have Joe Johnson's shimmy then reverse layup. But honestly, we were skimp on a lot of highlights this week. We need Jason Richardson back in the big three, back healthy. We need the old man dunks back in the big three. But this reverse layup was nasty by Joe. For player of the week, I have Donte Greene of the Killer Threes getting 23 points and 11 rebounds in a big win versus Power. I told y'all last week that the Killer Threes are catching their groove at the right time, and I think their winning streak will continue. Moving on to predictions, and these games will be played on Thursday the 5th, and they also have games on Saturday the 7th too. For this week, I have Ghost Ballers over Threes Company, TriState over Power, Killer Threes over BiV Whack, Trilogy over Ball Hogs, and for the game of the week, I have Triplets over Three-Headed Monsters, and I have the Enemies over the Aliens. Since we're 4 weeks into season 4 of the Big 3, I have the top contenders of the MVP race. At number 1, we have Joe Johnson. Best player on the best team, he's the GOAT, his team is 4-0, and he is top 2 in most major statistical categories. At 2, we have Mike Taylor. Every game his energy is unmatched, he's 3rd in the league in scoring and assists, and his team is 3-1. 3rd, we have Kevin Murphy. 4th in the league in scoring, he's carried his team through games, and his team is 3-1. And 4th, we have Jason Richardson. Even though his points aren't as high as other candidates sitting at 16.7, Jay Rich's dominance on the game can't be understated, and he's on one of the best teams in the Big 3. I just want to thank you guys for watching. If you got all the way to the end, I really rock with you. If this is your first time on the channel, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter, and definitely let me know what you would like to see next. And we out. Peace.